Disney Vacation Club.
Puts a smile to my face just hearing it.
You're home away from home.
That's right. All that and more on this episode of My Disney Addiction Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, man, Greg.
Chris, welcome.
We are back.
Welcome to the Big Blue House. Door is open. Come on in. So let's begin. I'm your Disney detective, or in this episode's case, the bear in the Big Blue House. And then I have my co-host who's either thinking about strangling me or walking away from this podcast forever.
I am Chris, your number one ghost host, and I am
That's
wearing
right.
my shirt that says, "Welcome, foolish mortals."
I think that's sort of, that's what you think I am. I'm a foolish mortal. Right?
You are.
Very foolish mortal. But hey, I deliver great pizza. Pizza Planet, that's my t-shirt. Great pizza.
What's up?
Rip Pizza Planet, the actual restaurant from Disney Hollywood Studios. I miss you, even though you serve even though Pizza Rizzo serves the exact same kind of pizza. It's just the theming, you know? Pizza Planet. It was meant to be an actual legit restaurant.
Yeah, it should have been. Wasn't planned for Toy Story Land, confusingly.
Very.
But I digress. Guys, before we get into today's episode, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Greg,
Chris.
you know, we go to Disney a lot.
We do.
Is there a program or something that Disney offers for people who go a lot?
Yes, yeah, annual pass holders.
Well, besides that, I meant more of
Yeah,
like,
no,
like
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
What do you do? Why are you talking like that?
I'm just kidding, man. It's DVC, Disney Vacation.
Disney Vacation Club, people. Well, that is what we are going to be talking about today.
Yes.
Just so happens here I have a Disney Vacation Club, not owner, but bipartisan owner.
Yes, member-ish, due to me being in a family that has a Disney Vacation membership.
That is correct.
Yes.
So, let's talk a little bit about that. If you guys don't know, Disney Vacation Club was set up back in the 90s, essentially giving people an opportunity to essentially own a little bit of real estate. They essentially own a very small portion of real estate.
Right.
It's like a timeshare.
Yep, I was about to say that.
And Disney set it up, and they allow people to go to a specific resort and stay there for however long certain things allocate, and we'll get into that.
Yep. And there are specific places for you to stay if you're a part of the DVC or Disney Vacation Club called villas. And the first ever one was an Old Key West resort.
Yep.
And that was actually Disney's only intention of a Disney Vacation Club resort. That was like the first and only. But it blew up in popularity.
Dude.
Like, hey, we need to add more. So they created more, and then they took already created resorts and they added on a Disney Vacation Club
Section.
to it, which is awesome.
I mean, now they built specific resorts that were just meant for DVC.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how far it has grown from the initial idea to where it is now. It's pretty crazy and has a lot of great perks.
Yep. So when Disney originally started this back in the 90s, they were selling pretty much membership. How it works is, well, I'll back up a little bit. So how it works with most timeshares is you spend money and you buy into like a week or weeks at a specific location or options of location. So if you buy into like the Marriott, the Hilton, things like that, you're buying into like the first 2 weeks of March or the first 2 weeks in July, and you get that, and you can get certain residents in any of the Marriott hotels in certain areas, but then there's blackout dates and there's a whole bunch of stuff. So you're only buying into like weeks, or buying into levels of, not only weeks, but levels of accommodation, if you want to call it that. Sure. Now, with Disney Vacation Club, it's a little bit different, where instead of buying into weeks, you buy points. And points you redeem for days. Now, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 point does not equal 1 day. It could be you pay, I don't know, let's say 30 points a day or 150 points a day. That's never that much, but like let's say 20 points a day, and you can buy as many points as you want. I don't know. I don't think Disney has a limit. I can't remember, but you can buy as many points as you want, and you essentially book any time of the year you want, and you use your point allotment for those reservations. And the points vary on the time of the year, like the busy times of the year during summer, slower times.
They're valued more. And, some might roll over. And you can use them in the next year.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. Simmer down, this guy.
But near and dear to my heart.
Trying to set so people understand the structure a little bit. So there's that. But then how the point system also works. It's not just based off of the time. The amount of points per day also is affected not by just the time, but once again, the accommodation. So if you get a 1-bedroom suite that just is really meant to hold like 2 people, those tend to fill up really quick.
Right.
But they cost less points as opposed to getting like a 4-bedroom villa that's meant to hold 15 people. Obviously, that's a lot more points. And depending on the resort, that's a lot more points. If you're doing an all-bedroom, Kidani Village thing where it's like literally it's like a little hut.
Creme de la creme.
That's by all the animals. It's not like directly by all the animals at Animal Kingdom.
Right.
That's going to cost a lot more points than if you're getting like a 12-bedroom villa at Old Key West. Or if you want to go to the extreme, the little bungalows outside of the Polynesian, those are like 1,200 points a night.
It's insane, and I know that Disney's Wilderness also created cabins called
Yep.
Copper Creek cabins that are very similar in the point structure to the bungalows at Poly. Yeah.
And so what you do is you essentially go to Disney and you can buy a certain amount of points. Before it was very small on the minimum. Now it's up to there's a 100-point minimum that you have to buy. And
isn't there certain reselling limitations too?
Well, yep, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, see, look at this.
See, like Greg was able to join DVC, like be a part of DVC through his parents.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of research on this because I've actually wanted to buy into DVC.
Right.
That's one of the things I want my family to get.
So he came to play.
But like one of the things too is like when Disney first started, you could buy points, like 1 point. So generally you buy 1 point per a certain dollar amount. So for instance, like before at Disney, when you first started, you could buy 1 point for $50. Right. Which sounds like a lot of money, but that's insanely low because
relatively speaking, what happens now?
Yeah, because nowadays you can spend $200 a point, and you're like, whoa, $200 a point, what does that get you? Well, it's really hard to say because they changed that, and it changes every single year, like I said, with time, kind of accommodation size, and things like that. But if you get some people, if you're a family of just 2 people, 150 points can get you a long way because you don't need unless you want, but generally just for you two, you don't need the 12 person villa. You can get away with a studio place, so like 150 points can get you a long way, and that 150 points could potentially get you 7 days, 2 weeks, depending on where you stay and all that stuff. So it really depends on your family and what you want to do and where you want to stay and what kind of accommodations you like to have. So when you buy a contract from Disney, what you get is essentially what's known as your home resort. And your home resort, you can book 11 months in advance, and generally you're going to always get that. Now, if you want to book something that's what's known as outside of your home resort, so let's say if I have a home resort at, let's just pick one that everybody knows, the Grand Floridian. That's my home resort. Well, I can use those points at other Disney locations as well. And there's Disney locations all throughout, Magic Kingdom. There's some in California. There are some out in Hawaii by
Aulani.
At Aulani. You have some at Vero Beach in California as well.
Hilton Head.
In
the Carolinas.
Yep, and then you also have. Now it's not really the best way to do this, but you can. They are associated with RCI travel, so you can use the points there and redeem them through RCI all over the world as well. Another thing you can do with those points, this is something I generally would not recommend at all because it's a very poor return on your points, is you can use them for Disney Cruise Line. Generally speaking, it's a very poor resort, very poor return. You'd be better off paying out of pocket. But so when you buy into DVC, you want to look at kind of what your family generally does. Normally, me and my family, we like to stay for a week. So 100 points, and we're at 4 people in my family, that's not going to really work. Unless we were specifically looking at staying, if we bought in at Old Key West, because those are generally cheaper. And
yep.
you can get cheaper ones, like if you pick up your home resort to be out in Alani, well, because there's not a whole lot of people, people that can go out there that often. But when you buy those contracts, you also have maintenance fees every year.
Yep.
Now, the maintenance fees aren't expensive. I mean, sometimes, like some areas, it can be like $500 a year, $1,000 a year, depending on where you are. If you buy into Alani, it's probably going to be closer to $1,000 or more because, hello, Hawaii, you're surrounded by the ocean, a lot more chance of risk.
Yeah.
But so when you buy into that contract, you have the points, and how also the point system works, Greg, kind of like what you said, is that when you do that, you get, let's say, 100 points. And let's say for some reason, what you can do is what's called bank or borrow. So if like this year, let's say if I had 100 points this year, but I'm not going this year, I can save those for the next year, so for 2021. So that gives me 200 points for next year that I can use. And then let's say, well, I know I'm not going the following year because we wanted to go to Italy for some reason. Well, I have 100 points from the year ahead, so I can borrow from that year. So then in 2021, I could have 300 points potentially to use, which is a pretty good amount.
Yeah.
Now, you can only bank and or borrow 1 year apart. So 2020 points cannot be used for 2025. And 2022, I can't pull back for like 2020. Yeah. So that's kind of how that works. Now, when you get this, you get a contract for all these points. Now, you can resell or sell them, which is kind of nice because you can sell your contract to people and you can get money back. You generally won't get as much money back, but you can recover some of your money from that.
Sure.
Or what you can do, what some people do, is they rent out their points. So if they know they're not going to be there that year, they know that they don't really want to borrow that many points for next year because they know they're not going to use that much.
Sure.
It's like, well, other people want to use it. I'll rent out some points and I'll get, $1,500 back in my pocket, $2,000 back in my pocket for that year.
Sure.
So you can do that. There is the option where you can also, actually, instead of buying a contract through Disney, you can buy through the resale market.
Yeah.
Now, the downside, what Disney has put
it gets tricky, yeah.
Disney has put a little bit of a stranglehold on resale contracts now, where if you buy resale, so forgot to mention that if you buy through Disney, you get perks through Disney. You get, exclusive locations where you can go for DVC only members for relaxation. You can get to the top of the world tower. You can
it's like 20% off select merchandise.
Yeah, select merchandise, food, like special events, all these things. If you buy resale, you don't get any of that.
Yeah.
And then also, what Disney has now implemented is that if you buy resale, you only get to use your points at existing DVC locations. So, like the 2 new ones that just came out, Copper Creek and Riviera, you cannot use those because they implemented that before those 2 were built.
Yeah.
So any new DVC buildings that Disney opens, you cannot use a resale contract on. So, which is kind of a bummer. So if you ever want to if they come out with an amazing, epic new
Disney Vacation Club resort, you might be left out to hang there with your resold points.
So that's where the question comes in for your family. Yeah. Would you want? It's like, okay, well, I'm going to save myself $20,000 or $10,000 or $8,000, whatever your budget is, by not buying direct through Disney.
Sure.
And that depends on the personality type. So, sorry, I've been talking a lot about this stuff.
No, it's good. I think you're painting a really good picture for them.
So now, let's get you back into the conversation here.
Okay.
I just wanted to set this up. There's a lot more questions, obviously. If you don't go on YouTube, there's a ton of stuff on it. Like, I put into a request for DVC information to Disney. They sent me a whole packet and, like, a CD and a bunch of stuff. And, like, if you send something, if you email Disney, like, specifically DVC, they'll send you a whole bunch of information with it. And what I like is what everybody has said. The DVC salespeople, they're not pushy. They're like, here's what it is, here's what it looks like. And generally, they're like, don't make a decision today. Go back, talk it over with your spouse, and then come back to us. Like, that's how guaranteed.
Yeah, like even when my dad was looking to buy more points.
When did your dad buy? So let's kind of bring you into this conversation.
I just
like took over this whole show.
No, it's good. It's good that you painted a picture because I am definitely more of an indirect recipient of it. I didn't do the research to get it, so it's good because you know a lot more than me, actually, ironically. But I want to say my dad bought in around 2008.
Okay.
So a little over a decade ago. I know. So the reason why we heard of it was in the early 2000s. We were initially supposed to be booked at the Wilderness for one of our trips, and just through some faulty, computer error, it didn't show up. And Disney said, "Oh, hey, this villa in Beach Club is open." Okay. And we're like, "What's Beach Club and what's a villa?" Like we're used to just like studio apartments, like the regular like Disney folk, and they're like, "Oh, it's a part of the Disney Vacation Club. We're really sorry that we inconvenience you, so we're gonna give you like this villa at no extra charge." And so we lived it up. Like, it was amazing. We saw
you guys. His eyes just like.
It was great. Like, even as a kid at age 7, from what I remembered going to Disney before and then after we viewed the villas, just like. The place where you stay alone is well worth the Disney Vacation Club, especially if you have a bigger family. Because for me, I have, of course, 2 parents and then 4 younger brothers. So we definitely could use, to the best of our extent, like a 2-bedroom villa. Mm-hmm. It was amazing, and that's when my dad started, Googling and researching Disney Vacation Club. And over the next couple of years, as we went. The more and more he wanted to continue to have that experience. Mm-hmm. And so he finally bought in 2008, and our home resort is Disney Beach Club. So
great option.
Yeah, love that resort. That is my favorite resort.
If you had to choose a different one, which would you choose?
I would choose Bay Lake.
Bay Lake Tower,
man. I really
man.
love Bay Lake.
Dude, 5-minute walk into the Magic Kingdom.
See, that's the thing. That's like the biggest selling point, because it's a bear to get into Magic Kingdom if you drive on your own car. Like, you have to park in this huge parking lot that's like more than a mile away across the 7 seas.
You can fit Disneyland into the parking lot of Magic Kingdom.
So that's always rough. And Bay Lake is so nice. Like, it's ultra modern. It's sleek. It's hip. You have a skywalk to the Contemporary, so you get to
get yourself some breakfast in the morning.
Chef Mickey's, of course. And then, like you said, 5-minute walk to Magic Kingdom. So I would say Bay Lake would be my home resort if Beach Club wasn't available or if it was non-existent. Yeah. Closely followed by Animal Kingdom Lodge.
I
really love that.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the things to think about is with also Disney Vacation Club, it is not a regular hotel room.
No.
So now what I mean by that is maintenance service comes in every single day, new towels, all that stuff. Disney Vacation Club is not like that. I think it's like every 3rd day.
Yeah, it's every 3rd day. And when you just take a look at the layout, like when you compare the rooms, just like a regular studio apartment, you have 2 beds, maybe a mini fridge, you have 1 bathroom, and then like a little sink with like a coffee maker. With the villas, it's basically like your own little penthouse.
It's like your own home.
Yeah, you have a kitchenette. You have laundry. You have a washer and a dryer. You have a dishwasher. You have an oven. You have a stove, and then you have like a common area. And then, with my family being as big as it is, we have a 2-bedroom. So you just have a ton of space. At least 2 bathrooms with like your own whirlpool and shower. It's great. So it's very spacious, very luxurious. Again, you're sort of getting what you pay for. And that's just the amenities alone. But going back to your point, like the turn down service, the maid service, it isn't every day, which I do like. And they're always very, very, very kind if they do happen to come around when we are.
One of the things that has been kind of on the DVC of people who own DVC is that Disney upkeeps their hotel rooms. Like, I think it's like every 7 to 10 years they refurbish them.
Yeah.
With Disney Vacation Club, it's not as much. Now, they are getting better. Like the Beach Club, I think, just went through
Yeah, it
rework.
was like 2 years ago. Like I remember they gave out like new carpeting and
Like
they sort of updated
new
it
furniture,
too.
and so
It is a little bit colder in my opinion. Like I really did like the warmth of their previous theming. So even though they updated it, it looks really nice. It has a different feel to it. I'd still go there, still love it, but again, change.
This is and so this is something I totally forgot to mention. Couple things. So we'll kind of talk about this too. When you buy into DVC, you're not buying into value resort or moderate. DVC is deluxe resort buildings.
Yep.
That is what you're buying into. So when you're buying into it, that's why it's expensive. You're not buying value or deluxe style. You're buying into the Grand Floridians, the beach clubs, Animal Kingdom, Wilderness,
Bungalows,
like all
Mountain
those
Creek.
things.
Yep.
You're putting yourself into the deluxe category of accommodations. Other thing to kind of know, and then here's another question that people always ask is, and because I think this is going to be a great question that it's going to be very personal for people, which is who should buy DVC or who should not buy DVC. So the word around the bubbler, water fountain, whatever people...
The castle, if you want to Disney-fy it.
Yeah, Disney-fy it. The thing is, most people's response who own DVC, sell DVC, big Disney fans who know anything about it, the general response is unless you go at least once every 3 years, it's not worth it to you.
Yeah.
Because depending on what you're doing, you're spending minimum $15,000 on this, minimum, to buy in. So you're looking at $15,000.
Yep.
And
that's just for like the accommodations of like
staying. This is
not the park tickets.
This is not to get into the parks or the food.
So you have to factor that in as well, and that's why I sort of jokingly brought up like annual pass holders, because when you can like tack that on, it helps you, especially if you go multiple times a year. But anyway, yes. Back to your point.
When you look at it,
just where you're staying.
Yeah, you're just accommodating yourself to where you stay. So like it's one of those things where if like looking at it, it's like, well, if you're the kind of people that go once every other year, once every 3 years, depending on what you generally do or where you stay, you might be better off buying into DVC, because if you're going to spend $4 or $5, let's just say $2,000 to do a value resort. Well, if you spend $2,000 to do a value resort and you do that every other year, well, let's say if you do that for 30 years, that's 15 times 2,000. What is that? That's 20. So that's $30,000. So $30,000, you could have spent $30,000 at a value resort, or you spend the $30,000 up front, and then you have DVC and you're staying in a deluxe. So that's where the draw is. It's like, well, if you know you're the type of family, and every single DVC person says this and knows this, every single person who's a person knows this. Life happens. We get it. That's why you can sell your contracts and all this stuff.
Because I want to see my parents have their contract until 2063.
Yeah. So generally, and that's a whole subcategory of things that might be a little bit too detailed for this conversation. But so if you're the kind of person or family that know that you would go every year, maybe at the very minimum, once every 3 years. Very bare minimum. Even then, that's stretching it.
Yeah.
Like, then DVC would be worth it. Where for me and my wife, it's like we go every other year minimum. I would like to go every single year and things like that. Well, if we own DVC, I would make going once a year much more of a feasible option. Because if we go once every year, we don't have to go to the parks every single day. If we go down there for like 5 days, we can go to the park once or twice, and then we can do Downtown Disney, we can stay there, we can do park hopping. There's a bunch of other stuff around Florida in the Orlando area that you can do. So like,
it limits, it doesn't limit you. You can broaden your horizons with that. Yeah.
And so that's where it's like part of the thing is you got to figure that out for your family. Where's that line? And it's kind of crunching those numbers and really figuring out, am I going to be spending, if I keep going the route I'm going at the value or the moderates, and this is where it kind of, I think this is where it really kind of comes in. If you're depending on which resort on the value and which once you start getting into moderate, if you go to moderate every other year, or like if you're doing Art of Animation or Pop Century every other year, and you plan on doing that for a long time, for the like until you're probably in your 50s, 60s, you're gonna spend easily just on the resort $15,000 to $30,000 or more over the course of your life.
Yeah.
So you might as well get DVC, and then you can stay at a deluxe resort. And that's one of the nice things about deluxe resorts. If you get the deluxe resort, you generally are closer to all the parks.
Right.
You're generally on a better chance of getting good transportation with buses or with the monorail. It's just.
I mean, the Skyliner definitely helps. Those value ones, like I know Art of Animation's connected to it. Same with Pop Century. But yeah, like you said, it opens up your eyes to like new possibilities, easier access, things like that. So could be worth a look.
Now I will say this. Couple of things too. If you buy, so the difference between DVC and resale, because this is where another struggle is. Should I buy DVC direct from Disney, or should I buy resale?
Yeah.
The struggle is looking at it. Do not, and this is just a warning for everybody, do not buy DVC for the perks. The perks can change every single year.
Right.
When you sign that contract, you are not signing to make sure. It's like if Disney says, oh, we're going to make sure that 5 times a year there's a special event night for DVC owners. That's not a contractual thing they're signing. You're signing for the physical space to stay. If Disney wants to pull back on that, they can. If Disney wants to, like, you can get discounts on annual passes. If Disney wants to take that away, they have the right to. So that's one of the things that if you're buying DVC, do not buy a DVC for being able to go to the DVC members only area lounges. Do not buy DVC because you're going to get 20% off on food or 20% off on merchandise, because they could always scale that back to 10% if they want.
They could.
So if you're buying DVC, don't try to do it for the perks. You're buying DVC for the accommodation. So now, the other question comes in. If we take that out, we got to look at, well, what is the location for you, right? Because for me and my family, we like being able to go back and relax and have a nice place to relax and chill and stay.
Yeah.
But when we go, we generally like to go and do things. Like we'll go down to, I know it's not called this anymore, but I always call it Downtown Disney. But
Disney Springs.
Downtown Disney. We would like to do park hopping. Like if doing park hopping, there's a lot of fun stuff. Like the Wilderness has its own Mickey Mouse, like scavenger.
Resort hopping.
Resort hopping.
Yeah,
Resort hopping. I mean, there's tons of different resorts to go and look at and spend the day at. There's restaurants all over the resorts that you don't even need to go into the park.
And like honestly, sometimes those resort restaurants are a lot
amazing,
better than like the quick service or just any restaurant you can get in the parks.
So I mean,
keep that in mind.
There's stuff to do outside of there.
Right.
But then yes, me and my family would go into the parks. But no, I wouldn't say we're like literally like the place where we stay is just to lay our head down. I mean, we might want to do more relaxing and being able to take it easy for a bit, but definitely like we're not buying DVC because we just want to spend 4 days there and maybe 1 day in the park.
Yeah.
No, that's different. If for you, that like I'm literally only going to Disney and I'm buying the Disney. I'm getting a Disney resort because I can get transportation or things like that, or it's literally just a place to put my head down. And I will never really, I'll be there when I go to bed. I'll be there for half an hour when I wake up and get dressed, and then I'm gone.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. That's going to be something for you. I don't really see it maybe as being a potential great purchase at that point.
Right. Yeah, it's all about your Disney lifestyle and how you want to do that.
Yeah. But you're very different. Your family's very different. Where the DVC makes sense because you guys actually like going back for a couple hours a day.
Exactly.
And resting.
Yeah, like we rest, we swim in the pool, we have some good food, and it's super nice because especially with how we set up our vacation, we typically go to Epcot every night. And with Beach Club being in walking distance to International Gateway of Epcot, it's like it's a no-brainer, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, if you have the Beach Club
has the best pool in the whole Disney World. Like, bar none.
Yeah. But then, like, I mean, even if you think about that, like, think about where the beach club is. That's the boardwalk area. So you have a bunch of fun stuff to do at the boardwalk.
Yeah, and the older I get, I'm like, wow, the boardwalk is really, really cool. They have like a cool dance hall. They have dueling pianos. They have the Flying Fish restaurant. They have the ESPN area. Like,
yeah, they have a ton of
art
stuff.
gallery. It's great, and they have my favorite pizza place. It's just like a pizza window on boardwalk. Make great personal pizza. So I know it's like you can explore, just walk around. It's a very luxurious, spacious area, and that's actually where I run in the morning before I start my day. Sometimes,
Nice.
yeah. They have like this cool like little Crescent Lake, I want to say, and then yeah, like the boardwalk to Beach Club and back. I think one circuit is like around a mile, so it's perfect. It's perfect.
So that's where, like, I mean, this is going to be part of like what your family does, what your guys are interested in. I mean, DVC is not going to be a one size fits all.
True.
For sure. So this is pretty much going to wrap up our episode. This was just like a small introduction of what is DVC, a little bit of how it works. I mean, if you guys, I mean, I'm sure we might end up doing some more discussion on DVC down the road. I mean, I think there's a lot of fun stuff there. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. But tell us what you guys think about DVC.
Yeah, let us know if you're a member, if you're thinking about it. We'd love to hear it.
Message us. We'd be more than willing to try to help you out where we can.
Yep. And don't forget, this is your only place to get your Disney fix.
Peace.